Hello everyone, today we're working on a 2011 Ford F-150. We're doing a transmission flush, and we're also going to change the transmission filter. The fluid we'll be using for the flush is AMSOIL, synthetic ATF. It's a fuel efficient, meets and exceeds all the specifications for this Ford transmission. And I've had many people ask how much oil I need to have on hand to do one of these flushes. Typically on the pickups and the cars, I'll keep around 4 gallon to do a decent flush. And again, it's going to depend and vary according to how much or how dirty the old oil is. When we do the flush, we go until we see a good color change. So that gives you some idea how much to have. If you have a bigger truck like an F-250, F-350, I'll have around 5 gallon on hand. So it gives you some idea of how much fluid to have. So we'll get started with this flush. Okay, we're going to take off this cover right here so we can get to the transmission cooler lines, because that's where we're going to perform our flush from. And they've got little quarter turn plastic keepers up here for this, right here by where you drain off for the engine oil filter. And then the rest of these, there's a special tool for taking out those Christmas trees. I get that from Snap-on. It's a Blue Point tool. And there's several of these that we're going to have to pop out, these little Christmas trees. If yours are getting brittle, you might have to get some new ones, but that tool works pretty slick. It goes right up underneath and just kind of pops them right out. Basically, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5 of these Christmas trees that you'll have to take out. Ones in the frame are a little tougher, but not too bad. Okay. Now, the lines we need to get at are right up here. We've got our transmission cooler lines. And I think what I'm going to do, so I don't have to fight this floppy thing, I'm going to take this whole piece off right here. There's 4 bolts that'll take this whole skid plate right off underneath the engine. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Alright, before removing the skid plate underneath the engine, this is the skid plate that goes underneath the transmission. And we've got 4 of these. They're actually kind of a quarter turn. You turn them about a quarter to half turn, they come loose. There's one there. There's one right here. That drops down. Then there's also one up front here and one towards the rear. And that drops down and exposes basically that whole transmission pan assembly that we need to get at. So from there, what we'll do is take out these bolts in the front. There's 2 here that can be taken loose. The 2 front ones need to be taken out. Okay, what we're going to do, the transmission pan does not have a drain plug on it. And so what I'm going to do, instead of just pulling the pan and making a mess back there, I'm going to pull off this cooler line. And this here line has got a keeper on it. Right here, it's a plastic keeper. It slides on. And that's in case this little snap ring inside here for that quick coupler doesn't hold. And then there's a special tool to take off that transmission line. And they make 2 different sizes. One's a 3/8, the other one's a 1/2 inch. Now on this Ford, it's a 1/2 inch. This particular tool I got from my Snap-on dealer. I know there's other people that handle them too, but they're real thin right here, and this is what releases that little lip right there where my thumb is at, what releases the snap ring that allows you to pull that line off. So what you do is you'll split it, put it over the line, and then you push down, and you can push up on that rubber part of the line a little bit, but that's supposed to release it just like that. Okay. And the line up there, that steel line, is going to be oil coming out of the engine oil or transmission oil cooler. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start this up, and we're going to let it run until we start to see it slow down and flow. Then we're going to shut it off, and that will have emptied out most of what's in the pan. And basically what that does, it gets rid of that mess back there when you take that pan off, because that pan's going to be full of oil. So go ahead and start it. Shut it off. When you start to see that flow start to waver a little bit, that's time to shut it off, because you're starting to suck down to nothing in that pan. Okay, so what I do is I save this oil, I measure how much I've taken out along with what comes out with the pan. That gives me some idea how much to put back in. So we're going to go ahead and pull that pan down, and we'll be back with you. Okay, I found that getting in on these back 4 bolts right here above this exhaust pipe is pretty tight fit. So what I ended up using was I just got a cheap China-made socket, an 8mm. That's what the heads of those bolts are. And I cut off probably about 1/4 inch of it. And what that allows me to do is that allows me to get in there to be able to take those loose, because it is a tight fit. To get in there with a universal joint and all that is pretty tough. So, but that'll allow me to get in there on those and get them in and out. So just a little piece of advice to make things go simpler for those back 4 bolts. Yeah. Alright, we're going to pull down that transmission filter. When that comes, there's probably going to be some oil come with it. There we go. There's also a tube here on the end, or a little seal on the end of that tube, I should say, and make sure that comes down with it. It doesn't stay up there in the housing. And the new one should have a new seal on it. Okay, now that we have the pan off, I'm going to show you where that dipstick is at. Right here it is. And there's a hex head plug above it. It's a 19mm. So what you're going to do is you're going to unscrew that, take off that steel cap, and that gets you to your dipstick. And that dipstick, and that's also where you're going to fill it. That's where you're going to fill that transmission, is through that dipstick hole. So you're going to have a way either with a funnel or a hose, or else you're going to have some kind of a pumper to get the fluid in. With that dipstick, you check it with it up to temperature, and you want to be right in this crosshatch area, right in that B crosshatch area when it's up to temp. Kind of right in the middle of it, or right in that neighborhood when it's up to temp. So, and that's done with the engine running, and like I said, the transmission fluid close to being up to temp. But that basically is where you're going to fill it, and that's where you're going to check it. You got to make sure it's seated all the way when you go to check it. So that gives you some idea how to check that fluid and where it's going to go in at. Alright, this transmission has close to 80,000 miles on it. To my knowledge, it has not been, the fluid has not been changed or flushed. And I want to give you some comparison on the old fluid to the new. The old fluid is getting fairly dark. It's starting to break down. The new fluid's kind of a nice bright cherry red, so you can kind of really see the difference here. And the other thing is, when we have this apart, we're going to take this magnet out. There's going to be a lot of fuzz on there from the initial break-in. And any dirt load that I get out of that transmission while it's apart. And there's quite a bit that settles out here in the pan here as well. But we're going to clean this pan real good, clean the magnet real good, and we'll get it ready to go back up in. But just wanted to see a difference in the color of the oil there. Difference in the fact that this oil is starting to get broke down, and as the oil breaks down, it doesn't take too long after that your transmission breaks down. Okay, you go to put the transmission filter up. Got the new seal on it. It should hang there for you. And then we grab the pan. And we'll slide that into place here. And we'll start putting the bolts in. Okay, we're filling up the transmission right now. I've got a gauge here, and we're going to put in about 7 quarts. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it up till it comes out of where that dipstick hole is. And that should be right around 7 quarts. And then we can start the vehicle up to do our flush. And I'm using basically it's an old Pepsi container that I've cleaned out. And I use that for pumping oil. It's got a dip tube in it, and I put compressed air on it. And that's basically presses that oil out through the hose here and into the transmission. Okay, we put 6 quarts in that transmission, and it was running out where that little dipstick goes in. That's enough to do our flush, so we're going to go ahead and start it. Start it up. See, that fluid's pretty dirty. Alright, that's good, shut it off. Starting to get a color change. And on this one here I'm going to add another 6 quarts. And I'm going to go some more until I get it clean. So we're going to add some more and we'll be back and start over. Okay, we added another 5-6 quarts of transmission fluid, and we're going to start it up again. Once I see a good color change, and we're going to hook our transmission cooler line back up, and then we'll refill the transmission, take it for a test drive, and we'll be done. Go ahead and start it up. Alright, that's good. Shut it off. Yeah, it's turning a nice cherry red. It's looking good. Okay, we're done with the flush. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook up this transmission cooler line. And right up here on this steel part of this line, there's a little place where there's a ridge, and that there's a snap ring inside here that goes over that and catches. So you basically just push that up until it locks in, and you give it a good tug and make sure that it's solid on there. Wipe off your hose is good. Then this plastic keeper goes on there as well. Okay, so that's it for putting the cooler line back on. And we're going to fill that transmission back up, get it running again, recheck it, and we're going to take it for a test drive. Okay, and right now we're right at just about at the top of the B hot, so we're right on the money. So that's it for the transmission flush, and now we're going to put everything back up in place as far as these shields. And then we'll be done. Thank you for watching my video. Be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe to my channel at youtube.com/c/Donsoil. I'd like to introduce you to Amsoil Synthetic Lubricants. We have the most complete line of synthetic lubricants on the market that offer you greatly reduced wear, extended drain intervals, longer equipment life. You can check that out at my website, donsoil.com. I also have a website for looking up fluid capacities. It's fluidcapacity.com. You can go there and print off the capacity of your engine oil, cooling system, transmission, transfer case, differentials. Be sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Don Synthetic Lubes. Thank you, and have a great day.